from the lives of our saints. On the 20th of September, our church celebrates the feast day of Saint Hilarion. The following are some thoughts on his life and works. Hilarion was born in Crete, but spent most of his life in Constantinople, a life which was uneventful until he achieved the notoriety of sorts, when he found himself accused of embezzlement. The accusation never had a chance to be substantiated, nor the guilt or innocence of Hilarion to be determined. He did not help his own cause, however, when after appealing to friends for assistance and having been denied, he fled to the safety of one of Constantinople's influential Muslims, in whose palace he was out of the reach of the law. It is clear he chose not to make his stand before the bar of justice and protest his innocence, and from that it can be assumed he was not blameless. In becoming a fugitive, however, he not only defected from the society in which he lived, but from Christianity as a whole. There have been few Christians who have denied Christ, and the Muslims considered it quite an achievement when they could induce a Christian to give up his birthright and become a Muslim. It mattered little that the conversion was a matter of convenience and economy and not out of conviction. In exchange for his perfidy, Hilarion was made comfortable and given enough money to sustain himself in rather handsome fashion, a life of ease which within 10 days was to become a life of torment for having forsaken the Lord. It was then that his Christian upbringing asserted itself. Hilarion could have given himself up to the authorities and paid his debt to society, but he was more concerned for the preservation of his soul, and therefore, in an act of complete contrition, sought the spiritual haven of the monastery of Mount Athos, that he might make known to God his abject atonement and plead for forgiveness. The monks he met instructed him to abide at the tiny skeet of St. Anne of Mount Athos, where he found a semblance of peace with a pious monk. In the many months that Hilarion spent at Mount Athos, his sincere repentance touched all those who witnessed it. It was made evident that even the civilian authorities have meted out justice with mercy for a man who so punished himself for so many months. The gnawing sense of guilt which would not leave Hilarion brought him to a decision for Christ that no one would have required of him. He calmly announced that the only way he could exculpate himself in the eyes of God and man would be to go back to the Sultan, whose favours he had accepted, and confront him with a denial of the Muslim faith and a reaffirmation of his faith in Jesus Christ. It was with a sense of relief that he received Holy Communion from his spiritual father for many months. The many friends he had found in this hallowed area came to bid him farewell, but they knew in their hearts what lay in store for him, because the Muslims' law was supreme and their justice was very harsh. Hilarion went directly to the palace of the Sultan and stated briefly that he had been a coward to have recanted, was renouncing his declaration of faith to Islam, and declaring himself for all time to be a Christian. He never hesitated or even wavered one instant. After the hours of meditation and prayer, he found a moment in which he truly exulted in the Lord and loved Jesus Christ with all his heart. He was beheaded on the 20th of September, 1804.